Hey everybody, HeadspaceConnections back with another video. This time we are doing like a redo of our alter roles and functions video. I know we had 3 parts on this channel. We're going to leave them there, but these videos that we're going to do are going to be a little more broken down because we still see a lot of questions about alters, their roles and functions, and we're going to break this down a little bit so that for those that may not have as much energy or as much attention to be able to watch our previous videos, this is going to be a little bit easier to comprehend and get as much info as you can. Now, for those of you that don't know, we are known as HeadspaceConnections on our Instagram, Pinterest, and Tumblr pages. We are a polyfragmented DID system, and we're doing educational videos to kind of help with people that are curious about DID, OSDD, or wanting to learn about it. For those of you that are not familiar with what DID is, DID or OSDD, basically people that have this disorder, is their psyche is basically fragmented, or their personality is fragmented. So they experience having like separate identities known as alters or alternate personalities, but there is a list of different names that people have for them. Now, alters, they can take over a person's body and or behavior at various times, depending on what's going on in the circumstances, and each alter can function independently of all the other alters, and together every piece or every alter make up that person's whole personality. So no alter is unimportant. Everybody makes up that set whole that was fragmented to begin with. Sorry, I feel a little out of breath still. We just got through doing a workout to help ground us. We had some issues with flashbacks and stuff yesterday. Now, how alters conform is typically it's developed through dissociation caused by prolonged childhood traumas. Attachment issues and persistent neglect can also cause these. We find a lot of people that think that trauma has to be just physical, when that's not necessarily the case. Trauma can also be mental, emotional, sexual, physical. Even if you had parents that cared but were sickly as a child and were left, say, in a hospital a lot, and you didn't have your parents around or any actual like set adult to be able to grow any attachments to, can cause that dissociation and can cause that alter formation. Now, what alters are not are ego states or alter egos, because with alter egos, people that do not have DID can have those. Alter egos don't involve amnesia. They don't involve dissociative symptoms, and they aren't like clinically distressing. And some examples I can think of for famous people that you guys would know that have alter egos or ego states, when Beyonce first came out as a solo artist, she was known as Sasha Fierce. And Eminem, when he first started out, went by an alter ego named Slim Shady. So again, alter egos and alters, not the same thing, because we get people that ask us about that too. Not the same thing. Now, I am going to read to you some characteristics of alters from a website called traumadissociation.com. It's a pretty well-known website. Some of you may know about it, some not. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and link in the video description the article that we use to get our information. That way you guys can read it at your leisure later. But it says, characteristics of alters, they may have different ages, younger or older, different names or no name, different attitudes and preference from like food, dress, grooming, whatever the case may be, different memories, different gender to the physical body, different roles or functions to daily life or trauma, different perception of appearance, hair, skin, body shape, body image, psychobiological differences to others. And this can include different vision, uh, different medicine reactions, allergies, different plasma. Some more that it lists are different plasma glucose levels, different heart rates, different blood pressure readings, different galvanic skin responses, etc. So there is quite a large variation of differences that can happen between alters. And it goes on to say different alters have shown different results in neuroimaging tests, including functional magnetic resonance imaging activation and brain activation, regional blood flow, and differences in PET scans. Research also shows that tests between systems, people diagnosed with DID or OSDD, and people simulating alters are not the same. So they've actually done tests of people who are legitimate systems and people who were, say maybe actors or something impersonating alters. Tests do not come out the same whatsoever. Now, different types of alters. We do know, for some that do have a little bit of knowledge already, there are multiple different types. But the biggest two that you're going to find that all alters are pretty much broadly classified as is either ANP, or apparently normal parts, or EPs, emotional parts. Now, with polyfragmented systems, kind of like us, is usually when you're going to find a weird, complicated mixture of the two going on. So the more alters that are in a system, the more those lines kind of start to blur a little bit. And we can vouch for that because some in our system are not clear-cut ANP or EPs. Now, with EPs or apparently normal parts, these are most commonly known as host parts, or previously were known as host personalities. And basically what these do is that they house the ability to function in normal everyday life. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, things like that. They generally don't hold trauma so that they can manage these basic daily functions, but sometimes they can even have no emotional attachments to the trauma. They may be visual holders but not emotional holders, or they may be amnesic to it completely. Now, like I said, as the more fragmented a system is, the more those lines start to blur a little bit. Because for us, we do have some ANPs that do carry trauma and would be kind of considered more EPs too. Now, EPs, that is the second category of alters, and these do generally carry trauma. They usually carry the sensory experiences of said traumatic experience of whatever it is that they carry. And these are the alters that are usually going to give you, when triggered, are going to cause the flashbacks, emotional bleeding, and things like that. And when you're going through trauma therapy, usually it's to help these alters, because these are ones that carry it the worst within themselves. However, because of the experience and the fact that they may not front as much because they are emotional protectors or emotional parts, they may not be aware that whatever situation or whatever traumatic event that they hold has already passed, and may be unaware completely that you may be now like years later and may not even be having traumatic circumstances anymore, but they are still there because they have not been processed yet. And as I mentioned earlier, all alters or identities can be broadly classified in these two spaces. Now, there are subtypes of parts that you'll find mostly in DID, sometimes in OSDD. It just kind of depends. Sorry guys, I had to get a drink of water. Throat's acting up real bad. Okay. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit of some of those subparts of alters, or, yeah. Sorry. Okay, and I'm going to be reading off a list. This is also a list from the same source that I found on trauma and dissociation, and it has two different lists on here. It poses common and a little bit less common. Now, on the common slot, they have ANP or hosts, child, ISH or internal self-helpers, alters, interjects, opposite sex, persecutors, sexual alters, suicidal internal, homicide alters, and teen alters. Now, for the list of less common, they have animal, baby and infant, caretaker, soother, demon, demonic, evil, fragment alters, military or political alters, non-human alters, robot machine alters, shell alters, spirit ghost, supernatural, subparts, or subsystems. Now, as I said, the list says less common does not mean it's impossible. And here is another point on here that they emphasized on this chart. I found animal, demon, and spirit alters, supernatural alters. It says these alters see themselves as non-human and may be unaware they are part of a human mind. They are mentioned lengthily in DSM-5 under the DID section. So if you get people that are calling you fake or saying that something's not right because you have some of these, they're wrong. They can read it from themselves because it's in the books. Now, it also mentions that no particular types of alters are needed for a DID diagnosis. Most people may recognize a few types, some may not recognize any, or may have types not even listed. Types of alters depend on what each person needed to survive. So, with us, we do have a lot of these that they have listed, but we also have some that aren't, kind of like our own little subcategories. So for those of you that do not have some of these, may have a lot, may have very few of these, what you have is what you needed. So, and I see a lot of people that tend to criticize and think that maybe they're faking because they don't have these set alters, they don't have these kinds of alters. Whatever you have is what you needed. Don't worry about what everyone else has. What everyone else has is what they needed. Worry about what you have. Because I promise you that no matter what alters you have, you are valid. I know it can be hard to get to the point where you understand your validity, but I promise you that you are valid no matter what alters you have and or how many you have. Because there is no really set number of alters that are possible. And I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys found it a little bit insightful. Couldn't go as deep into detail, but like I said, I will link the article in the description so you guys can do a little further reading later and get the full gist of it, and or more, because the article had a lot more to it. But we're gonna get more into the rest of that in later videos. So I hope this helped. If you guys like what we do, you can subscribe, and if you want to know when we do another video, hit the notification bell and it'll let you know. We, like I said, do also have other accounts, Tumblr, Pinterest, and Instagram. I will link those too, and you can follow us on there. We post memes, other general information, not just DID, but we post about other things too. Pinterest is kind of more like our own personal thing, but we show it to people who may need a little help mapping their systems and things like that. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys have a good day or night, whatever part of the world you're from, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.